Hey everyone, I'm Brett, and welcome to Nightwood Guns. My experience with the CZ P10 C was from my pre-YouTube days. I ran this quite a bit when it first came out. I since moved on from it, but have seen quite a bit of demand for me to check it out again on the channel, so that's exactly what we're gonna do today. This was kind of a big deal when it came out. Pretty soon after that, you could argue that it maybe flopped a little bit, kind of garnered a hipster reputation. But in 2025, in my opinion, this is one of the strongest 9mm pistol offerings on the entire market. Now, the CZ P10 has been around for a while, and because of that, a lot of people's opinions are already formed. So in the comments down below, let me know what your feelings are on the P10. Kind of view it as a poll. I'm trying to see how the community feels about it. We're going to explore some of the reasons the CZ P10 might have become somewhat of the underdog of the pack. It's not a perfect gun. You know I run an honest channel here, so be sure to stay tuned for the negatives because there are a few when it comes to the P10. If you're excited to see a video on the P10, we can thank today's sponsor, Danforth Designs. They make what I consider to be the most impactful accessory when it comes to the P10, so be sure to stay tuned because we're going to discuss that as well. And a final thank you to Buffalo Creek Ammo for their support of the channel, along with the support of my patrons over on Patreon. I'm so grateful for you guys. So hopping into the review, right off the bat, let's give the CZ P10 C some of the love it deserves. This has an incredible track record when it comes to reliability. Just ask anyone who runs it. The one that I had back in the day, the original release of it, had at least 8,000 rounds through it and never once hiccuped, and I'm not sure I ever even cleaned the thing. So as far as reliability and quality control goes with the P10, it is right up there with the best of the best. The occasional 1 in a million lemon, but for the most part, the vast majority of these are 1000% ready to rock. And the P10 isn't just reliable, it's also durable. One, it has an amazing nitride finish that holds up very well to corrosion and wear when it comes to holster wear or just general handling of the pistol. Great finish. It has a cold hammer forged barrel and a fiber reinforced polymer frame. Again, as far as durability goes, right up there at the top of the pack. Now, the reason today's video exists is thanks to Danforth Designs. If you are familiar with the striker control device for Glock pistols, this is a very similar design for the P10. The P10 holstering safety by Danforth Design does not alter the function of the pistol whatsoever. It does not impact reliability at all. It is only a positive to add this to your pistol. If you're unfamiliar with the product, it is a back plate for the pistol that swings freely, so there's no springs or anything. But when the trigger starts to depress, it will move this back plate, that free swinging back plate, rearward so you can feel that the trigger is being pressed. The reason this is important is if you're reholstering the gun, you can place your thumb over the back plate, reholster it, and if your shirt, some debris, if anything gets in the way of the trigger, it cannot go off if you are applying pressure to the back plate, or you can feel the back plate starting to lift, knowing that you are not safe to reholster it. The reason this is important is because the vast majority of competent people who pop themselves with their pistol, it happens when reholstering. If you carry the P10 and need to use it defensively, when your adrenaline is high, you may not be thinking properly, you may not look your pistol into your holster as you should, and this just gives you an extra layer of safety if you value your femoral artery for keeping you alive, or more importantly, if you value your balls. Or maybe your defensive encounter was in low light and you can't really see your pistol back into the holster. This is a great solution for low light or high adrenaline situations. Now, it's not like there's an epidemic of people popping themselves when reholstering after defensive encounters. Where people run into trouble is when they get complacent in the daily handling of their pistol. If you've ever seen a post on Reddit about someone popping themselves, they always say, "I've been around pistols my entire life, or for 10 years or 8 years, and I can't believe this happened." That's the thing, is complacency will get anybody, even the most experienced person. So it is a no-brainer to add a ball protector to the back of your gun. And it's not just for appendix carry. If you carry behind the hip, it's even harder to look your pistol into your holster, and you can pop your butt cheek and no one wants to have to deal with the hospital bills or having to sit in a donut for a couple of months. But if the CZ P10 is your daily driver, I highly recommend checking out Danforth Designs. You can find out more in the comments down below. Now back into the features of the P10, the ergonomics are well regarded. I think the vast majority of people that have a P10 enjoy the ergos. And while I'm not typically a fan of the humpy, bumpy, curvy style pistols, this one's actually very good. My favorite feature about the ergos is we actually have a smooth undercut right here that somehow is repeatable in mass manufacturing, this will completely prevent you from getting, Glock knuckle or rubbing your middle finger raw. I have a permanent callus on my middle finger, but this does feel really nice. As you can see, it has a very deep beaver tail. This will prevent you from getting any kind of slide bite when the slide reciprocates over your hand. As if that wasn't enough, it also comes with additional back straps so you can adjust the trigger reach and fit of the pistol to your preference. The cocking serrations are decent. They're deep and grippy. I do wish that they would go along the top of the slide here, at least this first little tri-cut. They could use a little more coverage to make it easier to rack this thing from different positions. The original release of the P10 had an ambidextrous mag release, but some people found it to be a little stiff or it wasn't working the way they wished it would. Mine was actually fine, so I didn't experience that issue, but they've now changed it to a swappable magazine release, so you can swap it if you're a left-handed shooter. And the magazine release, gotta say I'm a fan. It is kind of a flush magazine release for duty and carry purposes, but they have it well textured and it sticks out just enough to make mag changes a piece of cake. Speaking of easy mag changes, they also beveled the mag well here, so on the sides of the mag well, it is beveled, kind of ramping, guiding the magazine right in there. And the back strap is even ramped to help guide the magazine in. So even without an added funnel or mag well, this still makes for smooth reloads. Now moving on to the trigger, this is another area where the P10 shines. While it's not Walther PDP good, it is still better than a lot of OEM offerings in the striker fire pistol category. We have a medium amount of take up in the trigger pull, and then we hit that defined wall, hit that tension, press through the wall, not a lot of travel, and then the reset, which is pretty short for a striker fire pistol, but more importantly, it springs forward. It is really easy to run this trigger at speed, even if it is on that heavier duty side. Since we're in the trigger area, the trigger guard is oversized to make it easily used with gloved fingers, which is always a plus. Whether you're tactical with your mechanics gloves, or if it's just winter and you want to keep your hands warm, this is a trigger guard that will work for you. Next up, my favorite portion is where we talk about the actual shooting performance of the pistol. So first of all, the recoil impulse on this is incredible out of the box. And that's for a couple of reasons. Remember that deep beaver tail cut we had? Well, that allows you to get your hand nice and high up on the pistol, and as is the case with every CZ ever made, there's not a lot of reciprocating mass on the slide. When you pair that with a recoil spring that is actually the proper weight for the pistol, not oversprung, you have a really nice shooting gun right out of the box. For a polymer frame 9mm pistol that can fill that Glock 19 carry or duty role, this is one of the best shooting pistols you can get out of the box, hands down. You don't have to change anything on this for it to shoot well. You don't have to change recoil springs, you don't have to change the trigger. This thing is ready to go, and you get all of these features, one of the best in-class striker fire pistols, and it is underpriced. You are getting more than you pay for with the CZ P10. Not only is it the best out of the box, it's also the most affordable quality option on the market. This does not feel like a budget gun. This feels like a very high quality pistol, right up there with the best of the striker fire guns. But you're paying way less. Reliable, durable, quality, affordable. I don't know how you beat that combination. And it's not like this is ignored by the aftermarket either. There are decent aftermarket options for this pistol, including excellent holster availability. It will fit in some Glock holsters, but I recommend just getting a dedicated P10 holster. So before we hop into negatives, with all of those pros, why didn't this thing really gain more popularity? I mean, it's not like it's a poorly selling pistol, but it's not nearly as popular as Glock's, Smith & Wesson M&Ps, arguably even something like the Springfield Echelon or the HK VP9, or regrettably, the Sig P320. Well, first of all, when it came out, it was not priced this affordably. It was more so matching the competitors. They were also slow to offer an optic-ready model on this, which I think is a major selling feature in today's day and age. And when it was initially being launched, it was advertised as the Glock killer, and then a few people had some issues with it. Looked like there might have been some growing pains with the P10, so a lot of people adopted a wait and see approach with it, and that caused the hype to fizzle out. And finally, I just think there was lackluster marketing. When you look at Smith & Wesson's marketing, Sig's marketing, Glock's marketing, to the masses, they make those guns look cool to own. This is what, the elite policemen use. This is what the military uses. And the P10 kind of just resigned itself to being, well, if you want to be different, if you don't want to get what everyone else has, this is a really good option. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, this gun is not perfect, so let's hop into the negatives. My first criticism is in the grip texture. It is very sharp front to back, so your shooting hand absolutely locks into this thing. I think a lot of my soft-handed accountant followers out there are going to find the backstrap to be a little sharp. I know that that's how my wife feels as she grips this thing and she wants me to wrap it in hockey tape. Personally, I like it, but what's weird is they didn't match that aggression on the side of the grip. You know, the part where your support hand that manages the recoil and drives the gun should be digging into the grip. So not only is this texture less aggressive, there's also zero texture up here where the drumstick of your support hand can control a lot of the recoil. There's zero traction there. It's very slippy. And this gun shoots so much better when you either get it stippled or add something like handle-it grips to it that allow you to get that full traction on the side of the pistol. And again, I always have to say this, I realize there's a fine line in between too aggressive, you know, rubbing up against your skin for daily carry, and not aggressive enough. The gun is kind of slippy in your hands, especially when your hands get sweaty. Some guns arguably go a little too far with texture. Some might say the M&P 2.0. Personally, I like it. And other guns, like the new HK CC9, doesn't go nearly far enough. There's almost no traction on that. The PX4 Storm is another example as well. This is definitely better than something like the PX4 or the CC9, but it's still not great. If those are like a 0, this is, I don't know, like a 3. Is it shootable as is? Absolutely. Would it benefit more from more traction on the grip? 100%. Another criticism is they have this beautiful single undercut right here. I would have loved to have seen a double undercut in the trigger guard as well, just to enhance ergonomics a little more, allow you to more comfortably get your support hand higher up on the pistol, but they just went with the single undercut and the boxy trigger guard. Next up, this polymer trigger shoe with the little trigger tab in there will start to rub your finger over high round counts. When I was at the range, when I started hitting 300, 400, 500 rounds, I was starting to feel it a little bit on my finger. So if I was going to change anything at all on the pistol, which again it doesn't need, I would put a little more traction on the grip and I would swap out the trigger shoe for a more comfortable trigger shoe. Something else a little nitpicky is they went with 3 white dots for the sight setup. That is just like so 20 years ago. It seems most people are moving towards a blacked out rear with some sort of colored dot on the front sight, whether that be fiber optic or tritium or whatever, so the 3 white dots is a little dated. Something worth noting though is compared to something like Glock that has polymer sights, this comes with metal sights for less than a Glock. So thumbs up, CZ. Now this one's probably the biggest bummer, but you know, it is what it is. It doesn't come with any optic plates in the box, so you're going to have to source the optic plates on your own if you want to mount a red dot to the pistol. But that's really all I have. In the grand scheme of things, none of those are deal breakers. None of those are even big deals. They're just, they'd be nice to have. But if you want to spend less, you want to get something that is good enough out of the box, if you want to toss an optic on there, the only thing you have to get is a plate, then the P10 is a no-brainer. Something that is priced lower, that competes with the best in category, is impressive. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like, thumbs up button. It definitely helps out. Other than that, if you'd like to support the channel more directly, the links in the description below are the place to be. Thank you to Danforth Design for making this video happen. You can learn more about the holstering safety in the comments down below. And as always, it was great seeing you guys again, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Brett, and this was Nightwood Guns. Nightwood out.